Hi there, welcome to my channel. I'm mostly crafty. My name is Laura, my pronouns are she, her, and this is Flosstube number 1. Welcome to my first Flosstube. This is a 2025 year in review finish parade, and I wanted to make a Flosstube, create my own channel, mostly because I'm so inspired by so many other creators out there like Cross Stitch the Globe, Adelaide Stitches, Crafty Emily, Accounting My Stitches, and a ton of other people that I follow. So I wanted to kind of just put myself out there and share my experience with the craft and how I got into it and all of the cool projects that I'm doing. So I will start with my finishes, mostly in chronological order. I don't have all of them because I gave away several of them as finishes, as gifts. I had 20 finishes this year, which is a lot. A lot of them were small, kind of gifty things. So let's jump into it. My first finish of the year is this ink circles pattern. It's called Reflections of Amsterdam. It's stitched on 18 count white Aida from my mom's stash. My mom gave me her stash, I don't know, a year and a half ago, and I just brought home a ton of her old DMC and floss and magazines and patterns. And so I picked up this paper pattern at Threadneedle Street over in Issaquah, Washington. I live in Seattle, Washington. And this was the first like real project that I finished, especially a large project. It's 5,641 stitches. I was inspired because I love these little KLM houses that you get if you fly business class on KLM. I have never flown business class on KLM, but I'm obsessed with these little houses that I got on eBay. And I wanted to do a cross stitch project of them since I can't, since I don't have very many of my own, and I have no plans to go to Amsterdam. So I finished that. I started that on Super Bowl Sunday. Actually, I started at Super Bowl Sunday with some blue from my mom's stash. Sorry about the glare. I can't see. I'm filming on my phone for the first time. I started in the middle of the mandala and of course ran out of blue. So I had the little DMC tag, but it was probably 25, 30 years old. Went to Michael's. The color in that now is completely different. So I ended up doing DMC 3750, which is close enough that when this is hanging on the wall, you can't really tell. All right, my next project is a Blackwork project, and I don't see a ton of Blackwork out there. I really love it. This was one of the projects I started in January last year, really like dipping my toe into kind of cross stitch and needlework. This is Peppermint Purple. It's their mini stitch along. Peppermint Purple does a stitch along every year, week by week, and she does some really amazing patterns with different fills, and then you can pick the colors that you wanted. So I started this in January. I love how I framed it in this thrifted gold frame to kind of look like stained glass. I don't know how many stitches there are. I didn't have markup at the time, and it's all, you know, basically back stitch, so I don't know how many stitches there are. This is 16 count white Aida from my mom's stash with just a random selection of colors in a rainbow. My dog just tried to knock over my tripod. Thank you so much, Ruby. The next two I'll put pictures up because I don't have the actual FFOs. I already gifted them to friends. The first is the letter J by Les Brodeuses Parisiennes from Les Marinieres. I went to Paris in March, just as like a long kind of weekend vacation for myself. And I went to a local needlework store there called Les Brodeuses Parisiennes. And they sell their own patterns. I had seen them on Etsy and Pinterest, and I just really loved them. I cannot find the patterns anywhere in this house. I've reorganized my cross stitch and craft supplies like 3 times in the past month. I have no idea where anything is. But I wanted to stitch this for my sister. Her name starts with J. I didn't love the J that they had, so I actually drafted this myself in Stitch Fiddle and kind of tinkered with the 2 patterns for a background that I liked, and then the letter J itself. And that I finished in early April. It took me about 4 days. It's on 16 count white Aida, called for DMC. It's about 800 stitches. The next one was also a gift. It's called Illuminated Ghoul. It's from the Creepy Cross Stitch book that you can get. You can get it through the Libby app at your library as well. This is about 1,450 stitches. I stitched it on 14 count black Ada, which is, you know, a pain. I gifted it to my dog sitter because she just loved the little ghosty. I think it's really cute. I would stitch it again for myself in a heartbeat. The next pattern I stitched is called Strawberry Urn by Needlwork Press. No, leave it. Can you go? Hi, you're very helpful. This is a free pattern. I stitched it for the Strawberry Moon SAL, hosted by Marjorie Maid. I started it June 1st, finished it in late June. This is like one of my favorite colors of DMC. It's DMC 150. I love pink. It's kind of a pinky red. It's on a vintage 28 count vintage ivory linen that my mom gave me from a stash that she had. And I just did it in this like little oval hoop that I thrifted. So this is my first time stitching on linen. This is a very loose linen weave, and so I worked really hard. The back is also really pretty. I didn't lace it or anything, but I worked really hard to kind of learn how to stitch on linen. The next two, I also don't have the FFOs. I've already gifted these as well. This is another Blackwork pattern. It's by Stitchblackwork shop on Etsy. I found the color conversion on Pinterest by Jedscape blog. It's called Tudor Meets Technicolor. I stitched this for a friend of mine who owns the gym I go to. They are a trans person, and so I stitched this in June for kind of a Pride Month stitch for myself. I used that blog's color pattern or color conversion mostly, and it's on 28 count opalescent white casual linen, which I really loved, and I just did like a hoop finish with some rainbow fabric I had on the back. My dog is chewing her bone. Hopefully that's not too distracting. I don't really mind when people's cats are howling or their dogs are barking in videos, so hopefully you guys don't mind either, because I don't have a microphone yet. So this next one is Baba Yaga by the Witchy Stitcher. I love this piece. I love the Witchy Stitcher. I'm not like a spooky goth ghosty girl, but I just love her patterns. I think Meg's patterns are terrific. This one you can buy on her website. It is, I said it's called Baba Yaga. I stitched this for a friend of mine who, I showed them a different Baba Yaga pattern. I think maybe from Creepy Cross Stitch. And they were like, she was like, that's my very favorite, like folklore, myth, whatever fairy tale. I love that. Will you stitch something for me? And I said, yes, absolutely. And then I found Meg's pattern and just absolutely loved it. Even though it uses so much 310. Like the house itself stitched up really quick, and I was like, oh, I'm crushing this. I'll definitely finish this before I see my friend Tracy at a wedding in July. I did not. I mean, I did finish it, but it was really close, really close. So I started this in May over Memorial Day weekend, and there was one sunny day. I stitched this for like 650 stitches just out in the sunshine, like listening to a podcast or something. This is vintage 18 count Ada that I got from my mom's stash. This was my first experience dyeing something, so I learned how to dye with Rit dye. I think it turned out amazing, and that is about 6,100 stitches. I am of the opinion that all designers should include the total number of stitches in their patterns. When I'm president, that's the platform that I will run on, because I know you can get like the length and the width, but some patterns have a lot of white space, and I am primarily a monogamous-ish stitcher. I don't have a lot of whips going at any one time. I kind of have, what I found works for me is I have a focus piece, and I just stitch on that primarily through the month with other things that I layer in. And so I know how many stitches I can do in a month. I like to know how long it will take me roughly to finish a piece. And so when people don't put that in their patterns, I get cranky. Okay, let's move on to the next batch of finishes, which are strewn around me. This cute little ornament I did, it's Birthstone and Gemstone August. It's a tiny modernist pattern from their Patreon. I'll put a picture of the full pattern up. She was releasing one like little flower gemstone combo per month in the past year, or she was doing it by quarter over the past year or so. It's out on her website this month, the whole 12-month pattern. I didn't want to do the whole 12 months, but I do want to do my birthday month, which is in August. So I started this the month of August for my birthday. I stitched this on 25 count Lugana. It's 1/1. I didn't really know to stitch something larger, but it worked. And I just framed it in this vintage little green hoop that my mom had given me. It has a crack in it, so it wasn't like functional anymore. And I just did some fabric from a stash on the back. This, just the little flower, so it's a poppy and peridot. This was about 1,150 stitches. The next pattern, is this my next finish? Yeah, this is my next finish. This is Summer's Day by NatXStitches. I'll try not to get the glare. I can put a picture up if it is really glary. Everyone and their sister started this at Midsummer Stitch. I love NatXStitches. She is absolutely my favorite pattern designer with Witchy Sticher. I think her patterns are so creative. They are, like, the colors are amazing. I did my own color conversion on this. After doing this, I would say don't mess with Jessica's colors. Her color is like perfection. And I was obsessed with that like dark teal that's in the picture. And so I can take this out of the glass. This is, no, I can't. I just kidding. I laced it in this gold frame I got at Goodwill. Sorry about the glare. I was obsessed with this deep teal this summer, and I love hot pink, so I did my own color conversion. It worked until I got to some of like the really, like the greens and whatnot, and it kind of fell down. And I was using old 351 from my mom's stash, and I was like playing thread chicken down to the wire. And so there are a couple places in it where like little blocks towards the bottom that I subbed out other colors because I didn't have enough 351 for the border, and that was far enough away that I could just pick a different color, it didn't matter. So I finished that in September, just before the Harvest Moon or just after Harvest Moon, Lindsay Stitches virtual retreat. That pattern is 5,459 stitches. This next one is like, it's actually an almost finish. I realized that there's like one little splotch of color that I need to add because I was totally out. This is one of the few that's not fully finished. I normally can get something into a frame pretty quickly. This is the Flower Dragon Meadow SAL Part 1 by Flossy Fox Shop. I also love her patterns. She did a stitch along last year that I really, really love, and so I thought, oh, I'll do this year's stitch along. It turns out that this is like not for me. I think her patterns are terrific. I'm still on her Patreon. Once we got like part 2 and 3, I was so far behind, and I was like, I'm probably not gonna put that up right now. So I just left part 1. I will probably finish it out somehow. This is green Ada that I dyed myself. So it's kind of this like lime green color. I don't know how it's reading. I can't see my camera. And then the Clubboard DMC. I finished that in September, and I think it's fine as a finish. We're into the last quarter of the year, and at this point in October, I kind of picked a focus piece to really stitch on every day and kind of fill in with other projects. And so I really got a lot done. This is another Witchy Stitcher pattern. This is Victorian Haunt. It's from the cover of her book, The Witchy Stitcher. I think that's what it's called. It's probably behind me. Again, I love her patterns, and I realize I love stitching houses or things rather than like people, if that makes sense. This is on 35 count antique lambswool linen by, I think, Zweigart. Yeah, by Zweigart. I stitched it 2/2. I probably could have done 1/1 in some spots because this is a very tight weave, but I love it. It's mostly 310 with a couple of grays. I think B5200 or 3865, and then I stitched the ghosts in glow in the dark. And then this is a frame it's in a 6x9 frame from Home Goods. I put this up during Halloween. I love this piece. It looks so amazing in person, like, and on camera behind my desk for work. I love that. I love that. And then my next finish was this little guy, this tiny little bean that I drafted for the Make It Murder SAL, hosted by Stephanie at Cross Stitch the Globe. I don't know that she's put the video out, hint, hint, Stephanie, but she's had a lot on her plate, and so I'm looking forward to her 2026 being amazing. The Make It Murder SAL, hosted by Stephanie and previously Allison at Cross Stitch the Globe, is that you take any pattern and you make it murdery. So a lot of people take a tiny town and add in like bodies or like caution tape or whatever. I had this whole idea when I first started watching her channel, and I kind of went back into her archives and watched some older videos. And around March, I think I saw her either start talking about Make It Murder or like watched a previous Make It Murder video. I'll try to link them down below in the bottom if I remember. I like was so inspired and had all of these ideas of like murdery patterns I could do. I like went down a very deep rabbit hole of, okay, how could I take the TV show Psych and make that into a pattern? They love blueberries. They're very recognizable. Sean and Gus are. They're in Santa Barbara. And then I went down a rabbit hole of taking Summer Quaker and making that into like a murder scene with a skeleton instead of the mermaid in the water, recharting maybe like the quote, adding like knives and guns and like poison bottles to the Quaker motifs around it. I had it like sketched out. I bought the pattern, and then I realized it's 26,000 stitches. And I was not willing to devote 26,000 stitches of my life to a pattern, a murder pattern, when I wanted to stitch the regular pattern anyway. So I compromised, and I self-drafted this little Make It Murder, she wrote, Quaker. So I'll put a picture up too, but it's just a little typewriter, it says murder, and then a little Quaker cartouche motif with some X's. Murder, She Wrote is one of my favorite cozy mysteries. I started watching it on one of those fast TV channels this year, just over and over and over again. So I thought that was a great little homage to the great Jessica Fletcher. That I stitched it. It's $5.92. It's on just 18 count gray Aida. Okay, this is, I'm a little behind in my book. I got a little goofy. Here we go. The next, another Halloween stitch. This is Teeny Weeny Halloweeny Meowsterpiece Theater by the Witchy Stitcher. Again, from her Patreon. This year in October, she released a bunch of like smalls and ornaments that were, you know, witchy, spooky, ghosty, to kind of go along with a lot of the patterns in her book. And so this one I thought was super cute. These little ghosty cats, little cat. This is on, I think it's 14 count Aida that I dyed orange. I dyed a bunch of fabric orange for the next piece I'll show, so I had this left over. It is 1,175 stitches. It's mostly the called for DMC. I stitch almost entirely in DMC. I have like 2 fancy flosses, but I got my Bisley set for my birthday with the Pip and Chip bobbins that I love. So I'm building out my master set. Plus I have like my mom's old stash. So I'm mostly a DMC stitcher. And I try to stitch on thrifted Aida or Aida from my mom as much as possible, just to be, you know, like fiscally responsible and also like ecologically responsible. So this is mostly called for DMCs. I switched the green to 470. That's what I had in stash. The ghosts are glow in the dark. And then I made some little changes just to make the mice look a little more mousy. So I love this. This with my Witchy Stitcher, I'm gonna have like a whole wall behind my desk eventually. Not only do I love the Witchy Stitcher, I also love NatXStitches. Hopefully there's no glare here. I am a Swiftie. I have a Swiftie tattoo. I've seen the Eras Tour 3 times. I love Taylor. And so when she released her latest album, The Life of a Showgirl, I did a stitch along to NatXStitches' latest pattern, The Life of a Showgirl mini album. So this is on, again, I dyed a bunch of orange Ada. NatXStitches has a ton of mini albums. I've stitched 4 of them. Last year in 2024, I stitched Midnights as a gift and then 1989 for myself. I'm a 1989 girly. And then this year I stitched Life of a Showgirl and also Lover, which was a gift. I'll go ahead and put that picture up now. I stitched that for my sister in December. She had told me that Lover was her favorite album. I swear she told me this. And then I gave it to her and she unwrapped it and she was like, oh, Lover, okay. I was like, yeah, your favorite album. And she was like, I like it. Girl. So apparently I owe her another album cover. NatXStitches used to sell these on Etsy. She now sells them on her Ko-Fi. I'll try to put a link below. You can also get it from her Instagram, nat.x.stitches. She has a ton of mini albums, a ton of other Taylor inspired Eras Tour with all of the outfits, quotes. You can buy the bundle for like $30 some. She also has some Sabrina patterns and some other patterns. But I have stitched 4 of her patterns overall. The square ones are 42 by 42. So on a 14 count Ada, they are 3 by 3, 1764 total stitches. They stitch up super fast. They're a great like beginner-ish project as well if you're just starting out. The next pattern, I've already deconstructed it actually. I'll put a picture up, but it was the Hello from Liz Matthews Snowglobe from the Jingle Ball. I already packed part of it away, so I just have the little pieces that I glued onto coffee stirrers. I bought the kit for this, and in the kit you get a ton of different options that you can use to make the snow globe kit. It came with fake snow and some finishing stuff and the instructions on how to kind of do the special finishing to make them stand up. I finished mine in a glass like mason jar vase type thing, and so it's already back in my cupboard. I didn't do a permanent finish so that I could kind of just pack these away and then redo it in the next year, hopefully with more so I could create more. All right. Those are just on white Ada. You can do them on any fabric, as Liz says. I think she'll release the patterns and the instructions sometime next year, hopefully. Next pattern is Bright Noel by Tiny Modernist. This is in the 2024 Jingle Ball Baubles book. Ruby's playing with the toy. We're almost done. I stitched this on 14 count gold Ada that I thrifted. I would never recommend stitching on that gold Ada. It's a pain in the butt to stitch on, but it looks terrific. This is 2,065 stitches. I think called for DMC. I might have switched out the gray to something in my stash. And then also in December, I stitched just this E on a pillow, and I'll put that up here. This was a gift for one of my Secret Santas at work. She's also very crafty, so I thrifted her a crochet amigurumi book, and then made this into like a little ornament pillow backed by fabric I got at Joann's during their closing sale. So the E alone is 248 stitches, stitched up in a day. It was a start and finish. It was a really great way to like take this pattern, which I loved, and use elements of it for like a little gifty. And then I have 2 more finishes. One, I'll put a picture up. I already gifted it to my mom. This is the Snowglobe Cardinal, also from that Hello from Liz Matthews Jingle Ball class, in that like big batch of patterns she gave. I'm in Hello from Liz Matthews Patreon, and in November, early December, November, I guess, she posted this cardinal Patreon pattern. I was like, immediate purchase, like download, give it to me. I want this cardinal. I was in a very like Christmas stitchy mood. I didn't finish anything in November. So I was like, I need a project to finish. And I downloaded the pattern, put it into markup, and it was 10,000 stitches, 14,000 stitches. It was an enormous amount of stitches. And I was like, girl, there's no way I could stitch 14,000 stitches in December to have this finished. That's insane. I dyed the blue fabric for that ornament for it, and then was like, we're just gonna put this away. We're not playing this game. So when I saw this little cardinal in her Snowglobe kit, and I had some time during Jingle Ball to stitch, I was like, perfect. I'm gonna stitch a tiny cardinal. So I put this in a little ornament for my mom. Just did a simple hoop finish. She loved it, of course. My mom is how I got into cross stitch. She cross-stitched when I was a kid. Actually, I have this right here, this like little Halloween bag that she made with these little jack-o'-lanterns, and it's finished with this like ribbon bunting on the side. So I learned when I was a kid, although I got into it more about a year and a half ago when I saw mostly NatXStitches Taylor Swift patterns. So the cardinal alone is 690 stitches, I think. And then my last finish is not an FFO, it's just an FO. I did Tiny Modernists, Plum Pudding Bakery house class at the Jingle Ball, and so I got my pre-stitching done. And this is where you take it and you cut it out and put mat board and you make it into a little house. I'm obsessed with this. However, the class was at 6 a.m. my time. So I have since watched the class. I did not put it together yet. I do have most of the supplies. So I just need to do that. This is on 28 count Zweigart flax casual linen. I can't remember if she recommended this color or not. But someone maybe on Instagram recommended this color. And I thought, okay, yeah, that works. The instructions, I think, are for 14 count Aida or 28 count linen. I stitched it mostly called for DMC. I added Krynic. I added red Krynic in the berries, then also the bow. And then the snow I stitched with a combination of the white and the Krynic, or the white and the Krynic. I think, and then I did gold on the star. So this total was 4,048 stitches. She has a whole village of houses that I want to do eventually. So that might make it into my next video, which will be plans. So that's all of my finishes. Like I said, I did 20 finishes. I did a total of 70,000. Hello, Ruby. Thank you. 70,831 stitches. 20 projects. I finished the year with 7 whips. I came into the year with basically no whips because I hadn't really been stitching that much last fall. So anyway, thanks very much for coming to my first Flosstube. I really appreciate it. Hopefully you will like and follow and subscribe. You can also find me on Instagram at mostlycrafty. Have a good one.